Hi, I'm Pastor Jim Berggren at Holy Cross Lutheran Church in Houston, Texas. And this is a sermon for the 8th Sunday of Pentecost to be preached on July 19th, 2026. Matthew 13, 24 to 30. Let it go. So God was observing the earth and he thought, things look really messy down there. He sent angels on an inspection tour. They came back to report. Sadly, 95% of the people are bad. 5% of the people are good. Society's in an uproar. Chaos reigns supreme. Injustice and immorality are rife. What was called truth is changing every day. Most people just do whatever they want. And only about 5% of the people are trying to make a difference to build up church, society, human civilization. God said, oh my, such bad news. Let's send a letter of encouragement to tell the 5% how much we appreciate their faithful efforts and add some hints to how to keep going while they're under all this stress from an evil world. And you know what that letter said? Yeah, and I didn't get one either. How do we know the difference between good seed and weed seed? Between the desired plants and the undesired? Our drop seeder had two 8-foot long bins mounted on wheels with 16 nozzles under each bin that the seed would fall through into the ground, 32 furrows at a time. In front of each nozzle was a steel prong that opened a small furrow into which the seed behind it fell. Behind each seed funnel was a small wheel that pressed the sown seed into the soil. There was a platform all the way across the back of the machine, which the operator rode, making sure that the seeding process went according to plan. Dad drove the tractor. I rode the seed drill. The bins were filled with the best seed wheat from the year before or the best hybrids to be purchased. I had extra bags on the platform. At the beginning of the row, Dad would take off. I would drop the prongs into the soft earth and open the slide on the bins so that the seed would drop through the nozzles into the furrows at our preset rate, which accounted for the speed of the tractor and the drop rate of the seed through the funnel. I made sure the seed was dropping and that the bins did not run out. It was a busy ride, actually, on a cool autumn day. By the next spring, the grain was 20 inches tall. Occasionally, there'd be a taller clump, slightly darker green than the wheat, volunteer barley, mostly from birds flying over the field and cross contaminating with grains from other fields. Barley ripens sooner. It will mess up your wheat yield. I got a penny a clump to pull it up. It was possible because the wheat was sowed in rows, not broadcast, but I still had to stand on the wheat roots on either side of the barley clump to pull that clump up gently without pulling up the wheat. It was not a pleasant way to spend a hot May morning. It would be an evil person who would even think of broadcasting a rival grain or a noxious weed into a planted field. The crop would be a loss. The small farm might fail. Revenge wouldn't compensate for that kind of loss. Righteous indignation? Oh, sure. Rip up those bad weeds in anger? Might ruin your livelihood. Life is a mixed bag of wheat and weeds. This parable is one of judgment and warning. Be nice to get rid of all those weeds as soon as possible. But if you do that, you may destroy the best stuff you need. We are cautioned concerning judging the situations of our lives prematurely and then acting immaturely. After all, God's in charge of the field. Jesus says, let it go. God will take care of the harvest of both weeds and wheat. The Greek word is aphesis, Apagsis. It means to release, to exercise forgiveness, to let it go. From the cross, Jesus uses that word. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Let it go. That cross, inexplicably, somehow part of a plan, a great and beautiful plan. Forgiveness doesn't change the past. Forgiveness changes the future. Matthew's earlier parable of the sower and the seed helps with the context here. The soil is important. Weeds will grow fastest in malnourished soil and then die out quickly. On the other hand, the strength of good seed and a strong plant will overcome the weeds. There are many ways that God handles those weedy patches in life. My imagination can usually only conceive of one solution, which is let her rip. Rip it up. Teach a hard lesson and move on. God, of course, has an infinite number of better options, and He'll pick the best one for us. Unless, of course, we insist on our own way. Do not seize equality with God in your judgments. That's only a privilege of people who don't think ahead. So Jesus says, let it go. Now, that seems counterintuitive in these days of being proactive, as we enter a liminal space to uptick the great pivot into a more substantive narrative reset and follow the science to avoid unprecedented evil baked into our unconscionable culture. Woo-hoo-hoo. I'm so sorry. That was a rant for all the wise judges of wokeness who delight in pulling up weeds and naming evil. Uh, that's what they think is weeds and what they think is evil. Featuring all the gobbledygook, hackneyed, trite catchphrases of those who fix civilization by judging it and destroying it. You take all those weedy words out of newscasts, political speeches, and district level church communications. All you got are moving lips like Ivy League graduates trying to read a comic book. I can only hope this gospel would flatten the curve with a new metric of tolerance and grace. Let it go. Frankly, I prefer to think of myself, of course, as being in the nice plant, non weed group, of course. Jesus points out the pitfall of that metric. Maybe it's hard to tell the difference between weeds and wheat in our own lives and in other people's. Perhaps we have good crops of both in our experience. We've got doubts, we've got certainties. I've had to learn to distrust and review my certainties. Maybe they're not all that certain, and test my doubts to get a more accurate picture of the world around me. The Pharisees, they were great leaders. So was Saul before he became Paul, holding the cloaks of those who stoned Stephen. If Paul had been deservedly weeded out in retaliation for his numerous murderous weeding activities of killing Christians, if that had happened, we'd be missing 1/3 of the New Testament. Something did happen. Perhaps a weed could be an unexploited resource. Could be. Dandelions were imported to North America as an early food crop to help folks avoid scurvy. Forget your lawn and the grass. Make your lawn 800 square feet of vitamin C, a pretty yellow carpet of pure oxygen, filling your lungs with precious breath and your body with healing herbal supplements. Our world has a real problem with landmines that we don't notice because there's not too many stuck in obscure places in the United States. But first, we used metal detectors and probes. You could clear about 2 square meters a day, slowly, if you were lucky. Then they started making landmines with plastic casings, and the metal detectors didn't work anymore, and lives were lost. So dogs were trained to sniff out nitrogen dioxide and sulfur, the chemical components of explosives. Saved a lot of people, lost a lot of great dogs. Then somebody noticed that the thale cress weed, Arabidopsis italiana, turns red in soil with nitrogen dioxide and sulfur. It works. Sow the weed seed. Uh, Now you see where the landmine is. Disarm it. Pull the weed. Use it for salad. Like the old saying went, vini vidi vici enchilada. That's probably what Julius Caesar really said concerning his salad and his military exploits. I came, I saw, I conquered salad. So I'm willing to suspend judgment for a moment and allow the possibility that a perceived weed might be useful, maybe even beneficial. Let it go. Let's see what happens. God is on the job here. My first instinct is to blame something or someone for a problem. Focus on that. Try and uproot it. Get rid of it as soon as possible. The servant's first inclination is to pull the weeds out immediately. It's an age old push to get rid of tension instead of learning how to live with it. Let it go. It's hard advice to follow when we start experiencing things we don't like. We want to resolve them quickly. The same panic that the servants of the parable felt, but to their credit, they engaged the owner of the field in a dialogue. They talked it over with the boss. They strategized together. They acted responsibly and not unilaterally. They didn't assume the role of the final arbiter, who is, of course, God, the owner of the field. Jesus advises stay cool. Don't panic. Let it go. If you don't, you might put the whole field in jeopardy. You might kill the field. Do the gospel where you can do it. And quit spending time zeroing in on problems that God will have to handle anyway. Life's full of weeds. We can't avoid weeds. A good strategy is to live in forbearance with them until the future path forward becomes more clear. Let it go. Give God time. After all, He's given you time. He'll sort it out. Good and evil usually inhabit the same field, the same community, and the same each and every one individuals at the same time. We are all a mixture of good and bad. The world's complicated. There aren't any perfect good guys. There aren't any perfect bad guys. Mount a dedicated campaign to ruthlessly get rid of perceived problems, and you can abolish everybody. God, you want us to pull out the weeds? No. Be cooperative and curious and kind, not contentious. Communicate. The mystery and wonder of God's kingdom is in process, and it's working perfectly. It is planted, sprouted, and bearing fruit. All the evil in the world can't lift a finger against it. Let it go. Amen.